The Life and Times of Theodore Addison, 5th Grade Challenge by Jamaal. Friday, Part 1. There was a buzz in the air the next morning at school. It started with a very unusual, sudden photo shoot. Students took one face portrait and one full-body photo against a white brick wall background. The pictures would be used to make a scouting report for the competition. It was really more like a hastily made yearbook that would be mass-printed on regular copy paper, put into a binder, and handed out to all the students before the weekend. To go along with the pictures, the students had to write short introductions about themselves, like what they like and dislike, their favorite school subjects, etc. Their GPA minus music and art was also posted below their introduction, along with their music and art GPA and their 50-yard dash time. After the writing, the classes had to nominate their representatives for each day's activities. The breakdown of the activities was Monday, Academics Day, Math Speed Drills, Trivia, and Memory. Tuesday, Hobbies Day, any kind of art display or performance. Wednesday, Sports Day, water fight in the school courtyard. All right, for the competitions, you'll need to choose who you want to represent you, Mr. Gibson started. For the Academics Day Challenge, each room will nominate 2 boys and 2 girls to represent them. Whoever you want to represent your side, write their names on a small piece of paper. The students began scribbling their top choices on small slips of paper. Ted was virtually assured to be selected. Veronica was pretty smart too, and thought she'd be chosen, so she spent more of her time trying to figure out who to select as her partner. Her friend Chloe was pretty smart, and they worked well together. Veronica would sometimes even copy her answers when she didn't feel like doing the homework. As for Diamond, she wanted no part in that speech drill and made an X with her arms when she looked at her friend. Then it hit her. Veronica wrote down 2 names on the paper and zipped her lips. Ted thought long and hard about who his partner should be, and he thought his friend Derek should be by his side, as he always is. But his other friend James also had a lot to add. Still, Derek was a known quantity, and he has an eye for small details. On top of that, they have a synergy that makes them nearly unbeatable. He has to be the choice. Besides, James, being a foreigner, might not fully understand the reading comprehension when that part of the contest came around. There are just some things he wouldn't get. After a jar was sent around to collect the votes, Mr. Gibson reached in and read off the nominees and wrote a tick by their names on the board. First vote, Ted and Derek. Second vote, Ted and James. Third vote, Ted and Edgar. I think it's safe to say Ted's in, the teacher said. Fourth vote, Amber and Chloe. Fifth vote, Veronica and Amber. As he continued to read off the names, it became clear that Ted's partner would be one of his friends, Derek or James, but it was a tight race. And Veronica wrote James's name for the boys' team. She spotted the loophole in the rules and the process of voting, and exploited it. 25th and final vote, Edgar and James, the teacher said as he wrote a tick by their names on the board. Veronica's gamble worked. Deny a vote to Derek and add one to James. It had broken the tie between the boys. Wow, that was a tight one. So for the boys, it'll be Ted and James. For the girls, it'll be Veronica and Amber. Bookworm is my partner, Veronica thought. All right. I think I know how to make this work. Since the sports competition would have all students participating, the only other election they needed was for the hobbies competition. Ted was again selected because the boys thought he'd come up with an invention and win it for their side. Diamond was one of 3 girls selected, but she had no idea what would impress the teacher. She'd never had that pressure on her before. She'd have to decide quickly and work on it over the weekend or potentially cost the girls the chance to win. After all the elections, writings, and pictures, the scouting reports were printed and distributed to all the students. Everyone, of course, worried about how their pictures would look when printed, but took solace in the fact that nobody liked their pictures. It actually became a running joke among them as they began teasing each other.
Page 39.
Page 82.
Page 105?
All followed by rapid page flips, and then laughs, and then followed by, look at you, page 116, and more laughs followed. The teachers were helpless to stop this in their classrooms. Mr. Gibson was already questioning whether this competition was really a good idea. Lunchtime rolled around, and all the students brought their binders to their lunch tables to continue the banter. The students sat at lunch tables with a wide aisle dividing the boys' side and the girls' side. As Veronica continued to laugh at the boys' pictures, she remembered she had a plan to enact, and it was time-sensitive. At the end of the table sat Veronica's academics day partner, Amber. She hadn't brought her binder to lunch and wasn't laughing with the rest of the kids. Instead, her head was buried in her book, and she barely touched her food. Bookworm. Bookworm? Bookworm! Amber snapped out of her trance-like state and looked up at Veronica.
Sorry. What is it?
She asked in a quiet voice. Dang it, girl. Do you always get like this? Bookworm committed the page to memory and closed her book, careful not to bend a page. When she looked back up at the visibly annoyed Veronica, she tried not to let on that she'd rather be talking to literally anyone else. It was bad enough they had to work together for the competition. So, I was thinking about how we're going to take on Ted and James. It's better than facing Ted and Derek, but still, James is no slouch. But I think we can put ourselves in a better position to win if we can knock one or both of them off their games, Veronica said.
What do you have in mind?
The best way to distract an opponent that I've ever seen? Love. Bookworm began to understand where this was going, but she kept quiet until she could confirm Veronica's intentions. She never has a wholesome plan up her sleeve. So that's where you come in, Veronica said. I think we can throw James off his game if we use some of those tricks in your romance books. The knowing look on her face told Amber that Veronica knew her secret, but she couldn't fess up.
You want me to pretend to like James so he'll be too distracted to do well in the competition?
Pretend? Veronica continued giving her that I know your secret look, waiting for the next words out of Bookworm's mouth. She froze, not knowing what to say until she finally decided that denying it might be the best way forward.
I don't...
You like him.
No,
Yes, you do. Stop acting like I don't know.
All right, fine. It's true. But I still don't want to do that. It wouldn't be right,
Amber said. Well, don't think of it that way. Maybe for me, it's a distraction. But for you, it's an icebreaker. Who knows? You two might be made for each other. This could be your big chance to tell him how you feel. If not now, when? Amber thought about it for a moment and asked,
So you want me to just go and tell him?
Of course not. Try this instead. Veronica leaned in and whispered her plan in Amber's ears. On the other side of the aisle, the boys were eating their food voraciously. The jokes about the girls were funny, but empty stomachs would not be ignored. As they dug into their food, Ted asked James how he'd prepare for the reading comprehension part of the competition. I think I have been lucky because the textbooks they will use do not have much slang. If I have textbook English, I think I will do well. James answered. Sure you don't want a crash course on slang just in case? Derek joked. Crash course? What is that? See? That's why you need it, Ted laughed. You know, if you want to drop out and let me do it, I'm game for it, Derek said. If it's all over your head, that is. No, I have to do this. I was elected to do it. I will be prepared, James replied. Right? James is ready to be, see what I'm saying? Ted laughed. Yeah, you gonna get in there and kill it, you feel me, dog? Derek joked. While he looked back and forth, confused at his laughing friends, James caught Amber looking at him from right across the aisle. She had an almost loving gaze on her face, but when she saw him turn to her, she quickly whipped her head back around. Then James realized she would be one of his opponents in the competition. He opened his binder to Amber's page and started reading what it said about her. Ambrosa Bookworm Rodriguez. Extensive vocabulary. Extensive means a lot, right? Ted nodded as James continued. Not very good at sports. Not important for academics. Favorite subject, English and history. Derek broke in and asked, Hey, why are you looking at Bookworm suddenly? She was just staring at me. Just a minute ago. Staring. Oh, she zones out a lot. Don't read too much into it. That means don't think too much about it. It means nothing, Derek said. He thinks she likes him, Ted said, nudging Derek in the side as he chuckled. James closed the binder, embarrassed by his friend's accusation. But it was true. That look she gave him had to be more than just zoning out. But without some other information to work with, James would be left guessing. As they got in line to head back upstairs, Amber walked past James and without making eye contact, said,
Good luck in the competition.
This definitely got his attention. She had never spoken to him before. Why now, after that loving gaze? Did she like him? Was this her way of dropping hints? Those questions continued to churn in his mind during class. From Amber's point of view, the seed was planted, but it wasn't certain that he was receptive to her. Now that she dropped 2 hints, she had to wait for his response, which ate at her. As the class went on, Amber was sure to check her peripheral vision. She looked up to the whiteboard as much as possible to see if she could spot James staring at her out of the corner of her eye. And sure enough, she saw him. She came as close as she could to turning completely around to make sure he was staring at her. But she didn't need to. She could feel his gaze, and it was magical. The next step was coming up. Veronica noticed James now looking back and forth at Bookworm. The plan was working flawlessly. She signaled Diamond to show her how James was behaving and pumped her fist. Diamond covered her mouth as she silently laughed. Veronica then made a heart with her hands and batted her eyes as she laughed silently. How come I never noticed her until now? James thought to himself. He liked her long, brown hair and tan skin. But before he could get carried away, he realized he needed a breath of fresh air to clear his mind. He raised his hand and asked Mr. Gibson if he could use the bathroom and left. In the bathroom, James paced around, his nerves building. He was becoming infatuated with Amber, no matter how hard he tried not to. So, to calm himself down, he began to pray in his native language. Even if someone walked into the bathroom, they wouldn't understand his words, so he had no problem praying aloud. Adonai, I need your help. I cannot get Amber out of my mind, and this is the worst possible time. I do not want to like her, at least not now. Everyone is depending on me to do well in the competition, and I cannot let them down. He finally started to fit in, and if I fail, I will be an outcast. If I like her, I will not be able to study. Lord, I need something, anything that will help me clear my mind so I can prepare.
James paused for a moment, trying to calm his rising nerves with another prayer. He closed his eyes, took a deep, slow breath, and whispered,
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
Feeling better a little, he kept his eyes closed, as if opening them would ruin his peace.
That way she was staring at me, Lord, I can only imagine what she was thinking. What if she actually likes me? That would be amazing. But I cannot. Not now.
James's eyes shot open with dread. He thought to himself that he needed to know she didn't like him. And to do that, he needed to ask. But as soon as the thought passed his mind, even more dread filled him. He'd never known a girl to like him. And even when he liked a girl, he never knew what to say to her. Now he had to ask a girl if she liked him. And he needed her to say no. Maybe that second part was the easy part. He looked in the mirror at himself, wondering what exactly a girl would like about a lanky foreigner with a silly cap no one else wore and a funny accent. The few boys that did get girls' attention were athletic boys, like if they played on the basketball team, or the really cool boys who always wore the latest clothes, or could dance, or could talk easily to girls. James looked at himself and knew he was firmly in the geek category by American standards, and such boys were ignored, if not laughed at, by the girls. Strangely, this worked for his immediate goals. Since no girl would like him, he would get that certain no he needed to clear his head. But then, what about after the competition?
No time to worry about that now,
he told himself as he steeled his resolve and left the bathroom. After the final bell, the teacher asked Diamond if she decided what her project would be. Ted already confirmed he would make some new kind of invention, and the other students also had their minds made up on what they wanted to do. Only Diamond was unsure. Mr. Gibson told her if she needed money for doing her project, she'd have to email him by the end of the day. She nodded her head and followed Veronica out to the school bus. As everyone was leaving, both James and Amber stalled, trying to get a moment of privacy. Mr. Gibson goaded them out of the room, saying he had to lock up. As he carried his briefcase to the door, Amber asked, Mr. Gibson, did you manage to get that suit fixed?
Oh, they told me it would be fine. I'll pick it up in a few days. Thanks for asking. Oh, by the way, I just remembered you two are competing against each other in the competition. I wish you good luck. Teacher, that is what I needed to ask you about. While we study, is there a chapter or subject we should study more? James asked. Yes, but I can't tell you, the teacher said, smirking. I have to go. You two have a good weekend. With that, he was off, leaving James and Amber just standing there, almost completely alone. All the students with buses to catch were already gone. Well, it was, worth a shot, Amber said with a nervous smile on her face. Oh, well, you have a good weekend, too. Oh, okay, you too, James said as he turned to go in the opposite direction. He wanted to ask if she liked him, or why she was looking at him during lunch. But as he started to walk away, each step solidified his silence. As Amber turned to walk away as well, she remembered Veronica's words. If not now, when? She dropped her backpack, opened it, pulled out a notebook, ripped out a sheet of paper, balled it up, and threw it at him as hard as she could. James was disappointed in his cowardice as he walked away, when a paper ball landed not far from him. James turned around to see who threw the paper, but all he heard were rapid footsteps fleeing the now empty hallway. He was sure it was Amber, but why would she chuck a piece of paper at him? Confused, he started to walk away, feeling even more dejected, until he saw something on the paper ball that looked like writing. He stopped, picked it up, and found it was a letter written for him.
Dear James, I like you, okay? I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you, I like you. I never had the courage to tell you before, but it's true. I think I felt this way for a few months. I would like to meet this weekend. Tomorrow, for lunch. Maybe we can study together, too. Let's meet at Archie's by Oracle Park at 12, if you want. Here's my phone number. Let me know what you think, okay? It'd be great to get to know you. Yours truly, Amber.
James was blown away. It hit him in waves that 1, she liked him, 2, she liked him for a long time, and 3, she wanted to go on a date together tomorrow. This was overwhelming news. He fell on the ground and covered his mouth in surprise as he thought about everything he knew about her. All this time she was interested in him. Why? He wondered. As his mind was going crazy, though, he realized something. Amber hadn't written her phone number on the paper. He flipped the sheet over, checking every square inch of the paper, but found she'd forgotten to write it and was long gone. How was he supposed to tell her he wanted to go? Then it hit him. He was supposed to hope she didn't like him so he could study for the competition with a clear mind. What would become of his studying? I think this is what they mean by opening a can of worms. I need to ask Ted and Derek what to do about this. On the school bus riding home, Veronica and Diamond were talking about the boys, laughing at their pictures some more. When she came across one boy's picture, though, it reminded Veronica to ask what Diamond would do for the competition. Again, she was uncertain. I thought about doing a poem, but it would go over everybody's heads. I thought about doing a short story, but that would bore everyone to death. A sculpture? It'd have to really blow people's minds. An interpretive dance? Forget about it. These kids are 9.
Not bad. Freestyle forte?
Veronica said. She took out her phone and set it to record. Diamond started rocking back and forth like a rapper. I don't need to say, check it, 'cause I'm ready to go. It's your girl, Dee, but you already know, 'cause I'm the envy of the school, the ebony queen, you heard? Go to any store in the state. Bro, my juice is served, but it's been over a year since we took over the game. But I'm already MVP. Call me LeBron James. We're living the American dream, stunting in your face. If you want to hate on me, I'm going to have to put you back in your place. Wait, start over. Nope, Veronica said, snatching the phone away from Diamond's face to save it. Diamond tried in vain to grab the phone, telling Veronica to delete it. Okay, I'll delete it. But first, let me listen to it and add music to it. Veronica added a beat over the song at just the right tempo, then played it quietly enough that no one else heard. She reenacted silly rap poses as she mouthed Diamond's words. They kept laughing at the recording over and over again until they got off the bus together to walk home, since they lived only a few blocks apart. As they walked, Veronica asked if Diamond was free to come over for a sleepover, but Diamond wasn't able to. She still had to decide what to do and then get started. If it would be simple to make, then they could hang out that weekend, but right now it was impossible to tell. Hurry up and make up your mind, okay? We need you to bring your A game, Dee. With that, they parted, and Diamond walked home. The day had been really fun and all,
But it was the weekend now, and she wanted to plop down on the sofa, watch TV, and wind down. She'd figure out the project later, but as soon as she set foot in the house, she heard her mom call out,
"Diamond, is that you? Would you run back out to the store for me? I need another can of tomato sauce, and I can't leave the kitchen." "Well, so much for unwinding," she muttered to herself as she proceeded to the kitchen to get the money.
When she again stepped out of the door, the mid-afternoon sun glowed warmly on her skin. She stood there, drinking in the sunshine, looking around the neighborhood she'd moved into last August. It was quiet and peaceful. Back in her old neighborhood in St. Grace, around this time of day, she would hear cars drive by with loud music and earthquake-level bass. Here, all the cars crawled past, unnoticeably. And the houses, they looked so flat and bland, like they were thrown up in a couple of weeks. Nothing like the rich graystone houses she remembers from her old neighborhood, which has been standing strong for nearly a century. This wasn't the only thing she noticed. Her life in St. Grace was so different that if she went back there now, she might be unrecognizable. Her hairstyle and dress style changed when she moved. Wanting to fit in, she abandoned her box braids in favor of a perm and traded her urban clothes for something a bit more dress casual. Her purple plaid shirt looked great as she and her mom shopped for back-to-school clothes, but now it felt odd, as if a piece of her was missing. Yet she remembered her mom's words as they chose the new clothes.
"Don't go in there looking like you rolled up from the ghetto. We got out of the hood for a reason, so don't go dressing like you're trying to go back."
She remembered wandering through Macy's, trying to find something she and her mom could agree on. When they finally found something, her mom took her to get her hair done, just so she could see how she'd look when she put it all together the first day at her new school.
"It's cool, I guess, but it doesn't feel like me. I'm not really trying to go back to everything I used to wear, but I need to find something that fits me better. Whatever me is."
Before too much time passed, she started on her way to the store for a single can of tomato sauce. Again, the streets were quiet. People came home from work and went inside, never seeming to come back out. Back in St. Grace, there was more interaction between neighbors, sitting on the porch, chatting. Not here. The sidewalks were clear, porches empty, lawns well manicured. When she arrived at the store, she spotted Derek at the checkout counter.
"Let me guess. You got home and got sent right back out to the store by your parents?" Derek nodded, unhappy. "Guess I'm lucky I didn't have to bring Allie with me, especially with you here." "Why do you say that? 'Cause she stays shipping?" Derek replied, referring to his little sister's habit of trying to play matchmaker all the time. Diamond didn't get the reference, so she just said, "That little girl's so funny. Listen, I got some questions for you when I get back. Would you wait for me?" Diamond ran off and found the can of sauce she needed, made her purchase, and led Derek out the door. As they walked down the busy street, Derek was a bit conflicted. He was probably the world champion crush hider since he liked Diamond from the moment he laid eyes on her. At the same time, though, she was the best friend of Veronica, who was a horrible influence. Diamond was friendly to just about everyone, but had no problem doing bad things when Veronica wanted to. "Hey, answer me this. You used to live in Ecclesia, right?" Diamond started. "Right. Mostly black neighborhood, right?" "Right." "Do you miss it?" "Nope." "Not even a little?" "Nope," Derek answered again. "Why?" "'Cause Ted and I grew up there as nerds. We got picked on, made fun of, and beaten up sometimes. I had to learn karate to protect both of us. I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but it was rough for me. Glad I'm out." "Come on, these are our people," Diamond responded. "You can't think of anything good worth going back to, even for a visit?
I'm not saying there's nothing good there, but think about it. Would you want to be around people that put you in danger or made you feel unwelcome?
Diamond didn't answer, so Derek continued.
Remember when that movie Black Panther came out? Everybody was all excited about it, and everyone wanted to see it and started talking about Black power, Black excellence, and all that Afrocentric stuff. Ted and I actually read the comics before the movie was even announced. When we did that, we were mocked for it. Then the movie came out. We couldn't even join in the conversations because we were the nerds. And for all that talk about reconnecting with Africa, let me ask you this. James is African. Imagine what would happen if we sent James back to our old schools. What you think would happen to him? Foreign accent, overly proper clothes, and really, really quiet. Be honest, he'd get eaten alive and you know it.
After listening to Derek's complaints, Diamond mumbled,
Yeah, that wasn't my experience. 'Cause you're one of the cool kids, Derek answered somberly. You can do anything and they'd still like you. I could wear mismatched shoes and get laughed at. You could do the same and it'd become a fashion trend. You could slip on a banana peel and folks would laugh, but it wouldn't be held against you. I do it and it becomes the only thing people remember me for.
Diamond, suddenly realizing the double standard, had an idea.
I got it. I'm gonna help you so you don't get laughed at. I can show you how to get in the in crowd. No matter who you're around. White kids, black kids, doesn't matter. But that's kind of missing my point.
I'm not a miracle worker.
I can help you, though. Oh. Okay.
The first thing Diamond started doing was adjusting Derek's clothes to be more in, like fixing his shirt collar, demonstrating to him how to tuck in the front part of his shirt so his belt buckle could show, and pointing out how he needed to switch to different colored shoes and clean them. This ain't 2010 no more. Baggy clothes used to be in. Now it's form-fitting clothes, so get you some pants that aren't so loose. If you wear shorts, it's okay if they come above the knee. I used to see you wear those super long shorts. Ugh, so ugly. Burn those. Before Diamond could get too carried away showing him recommended hairstyles on her phone, it rapidly became too much for him. Derek shoved the phone out of his face when he saw her recommending a faux hawk.
Stop! Look, I'm glad you want to help, but it's not like I'm asking to be cool. I'm okay with who and what I am. I just don't feel like getting picked on for it. Get what I mean? Dude, like I said, I can't work miracles. And I can't make the other nerds suddenly be cool. It doesn't work that way. This is why I didn't want to go back.
Derek interrupted, throwing his hands in the air. He pulled the shirt from his pants and unfixed his collar, making it look worse than before. What's the problem? I'm trying to help.
No, you're not. You're trying to change me. Every time I got picked on, it's 'cause somebody thought the way I lived my life was wrong. Everything I did was so different, so it was seen as being wrong. There's nothing wrong with me, but it's something wrong with the way y'all see me.
He turned away and started to walk home, leaving Diamond there. He thought to himself how glad he was that he never confessed his feelings to her before. That crush was firmly gone. He thought,
no self-respecting man would ever be with someone so shallow. Forget her. I'm better off without her.
Hey! Diamond cried out to him. Derek turned around, thinking maybe she saw his side of the matter and wanted to change. Instead, she held his bag of groceries as she walked up to him. You forgot this.
Oh,
Derek said, deflated, as he stuck out his hand to receive the bag. But you do have a point, Diamond said. It just got me thinking, how much I've even changed myself to fit in. As if something was wrong with the way I was before. Derek cooled off, now that it seemed Diamond finally understood what he was saying. It even seemed like he might be able to help her now.
Being unpopular took away much of the pressure to be cool. It was liberating in a bizarre way.
That's the thing that always gets me about popular kids. After all that changing to fit in, do your so-called friends even know who you are? They don't even know the real you,
Derek said. Diamond cocked her head to the side. She'd never thought about it before. Then she remembered something her dad told her. Real friends tell you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it, because they want what's best for you. And here was Derek, telling her what she knew deep down to be true, even if he was a lame nobody liked. After a moment of thought, she grabbed the bag out of his hand, placed it on the ground, and gave him a warm hug to Derek's surprise. Suddenly, his feelings for her came flooding back, and he leaned into the hug. Any questions he had about her could wait at least a few more seconds. Plus, her hair smelled like flowers, but he couldn't think of what kind. And her head fit neatly under his chin. It was one of those moments he wished could last forever. When she let him go, she told him,
I always start my friendships off with a hug. But real talk, you do need to go back to the store and get you some deodorant.
Derek hung his head as he came crashing back down to earth. He sniffed his armpits and realized she was right. Then he picked up his grocery bag to head back to the store. One more thing, Diamond said. From now on, call me Dee Dee. Only my friends can call me that. Derek smiled and gave her a nod as they parted ways. Derek rounded the corner, and when he was out of her eyesight, he pumped his fist and slapped his chest.
And that, children, is how I met your mother,
he said, grinning from ear to ear.